If you are experiencing foundation issues, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
This month's TV 47 Star Student of the Month from Sylacauga High School is brought to you by Curtis and Son Funeral Home.
And we welcome Zachary Miller, a senior at Sylacauga High School, to our studios this morning. Zach, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us. And Zach, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a senior at Sylacauga High School, and I'm really involved in the student council program and the NHS program right now, as well as FBLA, because I'm the March of Dimes chairman. But outside of that, I mean, those are really the three things I'm really involved in at the school right now.
Talk about your family a little bit.
Well, my dad is Mitch Miller. He works at the Sylacauga Utilities Board. And then my mom is Lisa Miller, and she is just a stay-at-home mom. And then I have a younger sister who is in 9th grade.
Okay. What's the neat about being a senior at Sylacauga High School?
Well, really, it's finally getting to where we've all been working, all of my classmates and I have been working towards for the past 3 years now, is we're finally getting to the point where we're about to go out either to college, to trade schools, or into the workforce and really use what we've been learning for the past 3 years.
Since you've been in high school, I mean, there's too many accolades and honors to mention, but boy, you've been a busy young man, and you've actually taken AP courses since what?
9th grade.
9th grade?
Well, my first AP course was the AP Biology in 10th grade, but I've always been in the honors or pre-AP curriculum.
Yeah. How challenging is that on top of your normal work?
It depends. There's some classes that come a lot easier to me. Like for English or science, I don't really struggle as much. But when I get into into math, that's where it's harder work for me, just because it doesn't come as natural. But it can be very taxing sometimes.
Your ACT score, 33. What was wrong with you that day? That's great, man.
Well, I mean, I attributed a lot to my math teacher, Coach Steers, at the time, actually, because my other scores, and my English teacher, Miss Miller, because those are both the scores that really came up and allowed me to get a 33. I had a 31 the first time I took it, and my science and my reading were really high, and both of those are kind of comprehension tests. But the English test is a more application of English, like comma editing and that kind of stuff. And then math, you know, that's just a straight math test. So both of my teachers at the time were very helpful in kind of teaching me how to take those tests and preparing me for those tests as well as AP tests.
For those of you who are just tuning in, I was saying that tongue-in-cheek about the ACT score. 33 is fantastic. Your current weighted GPA, 4.39. That's something to be awfully proud of.
Well, I am. I've worked hard for it, and I'm continuing to do so. This year I've got 5 AP classes out of 8 classes. So.
Oh, goodness. And talk about some of the projects and extracurricular activities that you're involved in outside your classwork at school.
Well, right now I'm working on the March of Dimes committee for FBLA, and that committee is this weekend actually we have the March for Babies. That'll be at Central Park at Bluebell. Then last year I worked with the FBLA Community Service Project, which worked with SAFE's 20th anniversary project. So that's where I was last year a lot. Alongside of that, I've been shooting in competitive competitions since I was in the 6th grade. I've gone to the Junior Olympics in Colorado 6 times, which is at the Olympic Training Center. So that's something that I'm aspiring to try to get onto the Olympic team so I can go to the Olympics at some point.
Oh, fantastic. Now, talk about the shooting a little bit.
Okay. So I've been shooting since about 6th grade, but do you want like a distance or anything like that?
No, explain shooting for maybe people who don't know.
Well, it's I mean, it's an Olympic-style sport, but it's a one-handed event where you shoot with either your right or left hand. I mean, obviously, you would want to go with your dominant hand.
What are you shooting?
Oh, air pistol. Okay. So that's just a compressed air gun shooting a pellet. And we're shooting at targets that are, I'd say, like 8 inches by 8 inches square at about 10 meters, which is 33 feet. So you're shooting for a score out of 600. So right now I'm working towards getting to the 580s out of 600s, and I'm in like the 550s, 560s right now. So it's like It's really hard to explain to someone who hasn't
I can
seen
see
it.
you in the Olympics
But
too.
it's a really hard, or it can be really hard. And a guy that I have personally trained under is currently he's on the national team, which means he's in the Olympic pool.
How'd you get started with that?
So my aunt had a team for 4-H, and that team one day they were short a person and they were shooting in Anniston. So for them it's like almost a 2-hour drive, I think, to Anniston, or an hour and a half, 2 hours. For us, it's only 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, we'll meet you up there and I'll shoot in the place of the person you need to fill out the team. And I did fairly well considering I'd never really shot it. So I just kind of continued doing it. And I'm actually the only one left from the group that started it.
Oh, that's fantastic. This morning, Zach Miller is our Star Student of the Month. Talk about a couple of 3 of the activities that you've been involved in that has meant the most to you in high school.
I mean, I really feel that like my competitive shooting overall has been very important to me or has been a very important activity over the last 3 years, just because it's instilled so much discipline and work ethic in me.
Yeah.
And I think the community service projects that I've been in with the FBLA, for example, or even I know NHS, we had some work last year. JSS, we had work when I was in 10th grade. So there's always been some kind of community work that I'm involved in, whether it's in school or even with my youth group.
And you've been involved with Alabama Childhood Food Solutions too.
Yes, sir. That's so the building that they're currently in was, I guess, granted to them. I'm not really sure the right way to put it, but our church owned the building, and now it's theirs. I'm not sure who owns it, but that linked our church to Alabama Childhood Food Solutions. So we've been working with them. Our youth group goes on Sundays or every other Sunday to box food for them, and we've worked on. I know over the summer they encourage our church members to go work on Thursday.
Now that's a job too.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. You worship leader at Marble City Baptist Church.
Well, the youth worship leader, yes, sir. I work on Wednesday nights I lead worship for our youth, and I mean I'm not terribly gifted, but I can play guitar, so it's I do what I can, and I play on Sunday mornings too with the instrumentalists.
Yeah,
so.
that's a growing church, Marble City Baptist Church, and Zach, you do a good job. Keep up the good work too. What's your plans after high school?
Well, I've looked at the University of Alabama, and that's probably where I will end up, because I'm looking at mechanical engineering, just because of how diverse it is. I don't want to necessarily box myself into one thing, and so I feel that mechanical engineering really will equip me to do a broad variety of work. And it also allows me to go look towards orthopedic surgery and that kind of, like, get into surgery, just because it would be a good prerequisite to have to work with prosthetics and that kind of stuff.
Zach Miller, our Star Student of the Month. He's a senior at Sylacauga High School, ACT score of 33, current weighted GPA 4.39. And Zach, with all of this that you're doing, and I applaud you for your efforts, and I know you'll have a great future. Who is somebody, Zach, that's your go-to person when you just feel like you've hit a wall and you need somebody to talk to and know they're not going to judge you and know they're not going to give you bad advice, they're going to give you good counseling? Who would that be?
I would usually go to my father. I seek advice from him when I need it. I also, I have a handful of teachers at the school. Miss Miller, for example, she's not related to me, but I would go to her for advice too, because both of them are fairly grounded people, and they're both grounded in God, and I think that's really important to me. If I don't feel that I can get the advice I need from somebody I know, then go read my Bible, start praying about it, and seek wisdom from the Lord at that point.
Zach Miller, our Star Student of the Month this morning, and how, Zach, would you like to be thought of in leaving Sylacauga High School after a great career there? What would you like fellow students and others to think about you?
Well, I would hope that they would see me as someone they can be friends with. I mean, I don't want to alienate anybody, but I also hope that they would see the person I am and think that that they know I work hard for what I have, and that that I would be a good example to other students, really.
Did you always have the zeal to succeed as you obviously have as a senior?
Yes and no. In 9th grade, near the end of the first semester, I kind of started slacking off, and that's my dad and I had a fairly long talk that I will not forget for a long time. But it was about work ethic, and from there, I really haven't had any issues with it. So.
All right, Zach Miller, our Star Student of the Month. He is a senior at Sylacauga High School. Zachary, thanks for coming today, and continued success. We got more Daybreak coming up right after this.
This month, Star Student of the Month has been brought to you by Curtis and Son Funeral Home. Tune in to Daybreak for your Star Student of the Month.